St. Jude Hospital is known for treating what nobody else can. After exhausting every other option, worried and weary parents bring their children, hoping to find care that no one else can provide. Others find an end to their abilities where St. Jude Hospital specializes in lost causes. You know, Jesus specializes in lost causes. One of the unique things about Jesus, however, is that he provides more than just a hope for a cure. Jesus is the cure, and he offers himself to anyone who turns to him. But that turning is a lot like families that turn to St. Jude in their time of need. It means that we have to come to the end of our ropes. We have to abandon all pride. We have to be absolutely desperate for a cure. The Gospel of Mark is kind of like a highlight tape of Jesus, right? It's short, it's really fast paced, and it's really to the point. It's like kind of like a greatest hits album. That doesn't mean it's simple. So tonight, what we're going to look at the story, we're going to see really wide-ranging benefits of faith in Jesus. It's a faith Jesus calls us to in this passage is something that is ever increasing. I don't know if you've ever thought about your faith needing to be ever increasing, but the woman that comes to Jesus in this story, she comes to Jesus for the healing of her affliction, but she really found something greater. There's a desperate father sought out Jesus for the healing of his dying daughter, but ended up seeing her resurrected. Right? Jesus wants us to trust him more than just for temporary relief. He wants us to trust him for resurrection. So we're going to be in Mark chapter 5, and we're going to be looking first at verses 25 through 29. So here's what God's word says. It says, "And there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years, who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all she had, and was no better, but grew worse. She heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in a crowd, and touched his garment. For she said, 'If even I touch his garments, I will be made well.' And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease." So the woman in Mark chapter 5 story, she suffered. She suffered for 12 years. I mean, some of you that are watching this video haven't even been alive for 12 years. So just imagine for the majority, if not all of your life, just suffering from physical and emotional pain, and really the social costs of her incurable disease. I mean, if you're sick all the time, you're not feeling well enough to do anything. It was in some ways far worse than what we could imagine today, right? According to Leviticus 15, her blood problem made her ceremonially unclean, which means that she was like the lepers we talked about last week. She was cast out of normal social life. I mean, to touch another person, would mean that that person would be unclean. So you kind of think in terms of the coronavirus right now, right? So if you have the coronavirus, socially you can go out, you can do whatever, but if somebody's exposed to you, right, then they've been exposed, and they've got to be quarantined for 14 days too. You need to be quarantined for 14 days. And so there's this normal social life that because you've come in contact with somebody with the coronavirus, you might be a spreader. So, I mean, you've got to go for 14 days. Well, 12 years of this lady's life, she's living basically quarantined from other people. She's not supposed to have contact with another person, because if she has contact with another person, and they've been exposed to her, right? So that means no hugging, no handshaking, no pats on the head or the shoulder for comfort. And you just think about the past 3 months. Past 3 months has not been filled with those things for us. People are staying away from you. People aren't shaking hands. People aren't hugging. And there's this physical longing that you have to be with people, and I think that's kind of where we are now. I mean, so just imagine 12 years of that, right? 12 years, this lady's longing just for physical contact, just for someone to hug her. to hug her, to touch her shoulder, just to let her know, hey, you're not alone. I mean, she needed human contact. But added to her problem was the fact that she went to many doctors. She went to many, many doctors and spent a lot of money, all of her money, in fact, searching for a cure, and was told no over and over again. Mark states that she was not helped at all. In fact, the doctors really made her worse. Every attempt at her healing only made her suffer more. I mean, you can just imagine 3 months for us, 12 years of her actually suffering. I can't imagine the desperation that this lady felt. The woman didn't really know the full power of Jesus at that moment. All she had was a simple but profound faith that he could do what others could not. She somehow knew that he alone would cure where others had failed. So she reached out and came to him in faith. We keep reading in verses 30 through 34. It says, and Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned to the crowd and said, who touched my garments? His disciples said to him, do you see the crowd pressing in around you, and you ask who touched you? He looked around to see who had done it. The woman, knowing all had happened to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the truth. He said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed. You know, the woman in this story, she understood shame. She understood what it was like to be shunned by others. People turned away from her in the streets because they were fearful of coming in contact with her disease. She was treated like the plague. She was treated like the coronavirus. She didn't merely feel worthless to the culture. She was worthless to the culture. And then one day Jesus took a walk. And by this point, the woman knew Jesus was her only hope. So she ran and she fought through the crowd and touched his garment. That touch made Jesus unclean, ceremonially unclean, as would any touch from an impure person. But when she touched him, the reverse happened. Her touch didn't make Jesus unclean. Jesus' power made her clean. She didn't stay like she was. She was changed in an instant. Her uncleanliness into Jesus' purity. That's what faith grants us. It makes us whole again. Jesus takes what we can't live with and gives us what will make us live forever. It's the exchange every desperate heart longs for. Jesus taking what we can no longer bear and giving only what we can dream of. Jesus wanted to heal this woman deep within her. He wanted to heal her shame, and so he turned to throngs of people, bunches of people, wanting to know who touched him. He called her out, right? He forced her to step out of the crowd, to come to the center of the street, to face those she knew despised her. So what was Jesus doing in that moment? He was welcoming her back in. Like, hey, welcome back to your community. Welcome back to relationship. To not only me, but to others. You know, I think this account really teaches us a lot about our condition before we come to Jesus. And I think that there's a difference between Jesus offering physical healing and personal involvement in our lives. There is. But these accounts should challenge the way that we pursue Jesus every week. That we go to Jesus with what we cannot bear. And for you tonight, maybe that starts with your sin. Maybe it will start tonight for you to say, man, I can't carry this anymore. I can't carry this burden. I need to give it to you, Jesus. If that's you and you want to pray to the Lord and just ask him to forgive you and to carry your burden, he'll do that. I'd love to talk to you about what that would look like to start a relationship with Jesus, but maybe you just need to, maybe you've just been carrying a lot. Maybe you're struggling right now. Maybe the social isolation during the coronavirus has been hard on you. You need to know that Jesus sees you, that he cares for you, and that he doesn't desire for you to feel that way. He doesn't desire for you to feel lonely and desperate. He desires for you to feel known and to be loved. And he offers that to us in the same way that he offered it to the woman here in Mark chapter 5. So go to Jesus with your problems. Go to Jesus with your burdens. Give them to him. But next couple minutes, what I'd encourage you to do is just spend some time, go to the bottom of this video, and underneath you'll find the 7 arrows. And just spend some time working through Mark chapter 5 with the 7 arrows. Write some notes. Make some notes about just some stuff going on in your life. Maybe there's some stuff that you need to surrender to the Lord tonight. Whatever it might be, whatever the case may be, just communicate with Jesus. Know that I love you, I miss you. Hey, and we are thinking about what it's going to look like for us to get back together really soon. Still working through that. Not really sure with the current spike in Troup County if that's the wisest decision for us right now. And so we're just kind of playing it by ear. But I want you to know those are conversations that we're having. There's nobody that wants to get together more than Kristen and I do. We love you. We miss you. We can't wait to see you really soon. But we're just trying to be really wise about the way that we go about doing that. So I hope to see you soon. As always, my phone is available. Hit me up, call me, text me, whatever. Or follow me on social media and hit me up there. So I love you guys, and we'll talk to you real soon.